Optimizations means that we are changing our environment by recognizing that our environment is very strongly associated with the actions and the behaviors we're likely to take. Now, back in the old days, when it came to psychology research, we really thought that behaviors were just in and of themselves. And to change a behavior, we needed to just really focus on the behavior to change it. More modern research, and this is largely the popular belief now in the research space when it comes to behavioral analysis and behavioral psychology, is that our behavior is more so a product of our environment and our habits than it is about the behavior in itself. So I call this the cookie jar effect. I personally quite like cookies. And so for me, if there is a cookie jar on the kitchen table, I may have a cookie every day after dinner, maybe twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. Maybe I just finished a jar of cookies. If that cookie jar is not on the kitchen table, I may not even think about having a cookie for months, maybe even years. So this is the reason why a lot of companies out there are so insistent on making sure that their icon and their logo looks attractive, making sure it's on your home screen, on your desktop, making sure that there's advertising everywhere, because they understand that what's important for you to make the decision to engage with their app or play their game or to buy their product, you need to be trained, you need to be brainwashed into associating that thing, that logo, that trigger with a certain type of behavioral habit, like doom scrolling on social media or whatever it is, or binge eating. We're living in a world right now where we are filled and surrounded by stimuli with billion-dollar companies investing money into researching how they can take and hack your attention. We are surrounded by stimuli that is far beyond the dopamine hit that our brain originally adapted to cope with when we were, like chilling out in caves and stuff. So it does require extended more effort. It's not a natural process to be able to avoid these distractions. If you're someone that gets easily distracted, it just simply means you're a normal human being living in this current modern society. To break free from that, you do have to fight against it and put in effort. But the difference is that the effort can't be put in at the point of the behavior itself. It's very difficult to change a behavior by simply trying to change the behavior. Instead, we need to think about what are the triggers for that behavior and what are the things in our environment that make that behavior either more easily or more frequently triggered or more easily or frequently accessible. So let's use an example like online games. If you play lots of online games, but you uninstall the game from your computer, you're a lot less likely to play it because now it takes so much effort to reinstall the game that you often can't be bothered. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to that extent, although if you are really struggling with procrastination and being productive because of the fact that you're just getting soaked up into this game, then maybe that is something that you want to consider if you think that's important enough. For example, uninstalling or deactivating social media accounts. These are things that you could also engage in. We've got a Discord channel, but maybe you get distracted from that. Maybe you want to mute certain channels at certain times of the day. So it's about setting up your environment to prevent distractions. A very simple thing like not having your phone right next to you when you study. Right? Some people, it's enough just to put their phone down and put it on Do Not Disturb. Some people, that's not enough. A lot of people, that's not enough. A common strategy that I recommend is to take your phone and put it underneath the pile of clothes inside your wardrobe. So the idea is that we want to make the behavior that we're trying to avoid, the bad behavior, so difficult to access that we just straight up cannot be bothered. We want to use our laziness as a weapon against distractions and undesirable behaviors. It's very common for someone to message me saying, Justin, I've tried to avoid these distractions and blah, 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 but it's not working. And I say, okay, well, tell me what you're doing. And a lot of the time, all they're doing is they're saying, oh, well, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and then I, got rid of the desktop logo. And that's it. It's like, okay, well, what else have you done? And if they haven't done anything more, the indication is that they're not taking this seriously. They're still relying too much on the willpower. You have to understand And the research is getting increasingly clear about this. Putting in effort and willpower and trying to change a behavior by focusing on trying to change the behavior in itself is very, very inconsistent and difficult and usually not sustainable. As a doctor, when patients come in and they have a terrible diet and they're on, all sorts of different types of narcotics or, illegal drugs and substances, and they've got terrible lifestyle decisions and they're, coming into hospital again and again, I know that even if we're able to get them to quit smoking and go into rehab and blah, 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 all the other stuff, and we are able to change their lifestyle, as soon as we put them back into their living situation, where they may be surrounded by friends or family or whatever that is enabling that behavior, it's just a matter of time. It's incredibly ineffective to try to change a behavior by focusing on the behavior in itself. You have to recognize that you cannot use environmental optimization as just a little helping hand for your main approach, which is still just to try to not do the behavior. Don't try to do that. Invest all of that willpower and energy into optimizing your environment to make sure that that behavior is difficult to access or you're removing the triggers. Get rid of the cookie jar. Figure out all the different ways that you're triggered. Have a sheet next to you. Every time you're triggered by something, note down what it was that triggered you and think about ways that you can overcome that. Don't look for excuses why you can't. Look for solutions to make it happen. Let me say that again. Don't look for excuses, look for solutions. A lot of the time, people will say, yeah, well, I can't really get rid of it because of whatever reasons. And it's like, look, what's more important for you? Do you want to achieve this goal, or do you want to just get distracted and at the end of it fail your goal and say, oh yeah, but I couldn't because of blah, 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 blah. Figure out what's important for you and just commit to the decision and just do what needs to be done, right? Sometimes it's not fun. And, that's just life. You just got to suck it up and do it. So commit to the process of it, figure out where the environmental optimizations need to happen, and optimize the environment as much as you possibly can. I don't think I've ever encountered a situation in my years of practice across thousands of students from literally every possible scenario that you can think of. I've worked with refugees literally living in countries with active war going on where their parents are domestically abusing them and they're studying at 3 a.m. in secret under their covers at night. And I've worked with, people attending Ivy League universities. I've worked with competitive international level athletes. I don't think I've ever found someone that really committed to optimizing their environment and wasn't able to consistently really get a hold of their distractions and procrastination tendencies. It's just a matter of how far you're willing to go to make sure you can optimize that environment. Now, there is another side to this, is that you can actually optimize other people's environment for your benefit. So a common example that I see is with students, parents barging into the room and distracting them, or siblings or something. And you can tell them, hey, don't distract me if my door is closed, but they just walk in anyway, and it can be very disruptive and annoying. So instead, what you can do is you can interrupt their habit, because their habit is to just walk into your room. So instead, what you can do is maybe put up a sign on your door that says, "Studying, please do not disturb." That may be the environmental cue that is enough to break their habit of walking into your room. I had a student that I've had many students that had the exact same story where, they've had years of telling the parent, please don't disrupt me, but, they still do, and they sort of yell across the room, and the door and the personal privacy thing is just kind of like a meaningless concept. And they've struggled for years and years and years. And I just try it. Just try to tell them, I need to focus, and then put up the sign. Just see if that works. And you may be surprised how much it works, because it's not necessarily that they're intending to distract you. It's just that they are engaging in their own habit without realizing it. Another common example I see is in corporate situations or people that work in a shared office space where there's lots of distractions back and forth, either through online messages or actual sort of shoulder taps. So if in a physical office environment, you can actually use something like a post-it system. This is one that I often teach to the more corporate professional clients, is to set up a consistent post-it system. Have different color post-it notes and put it up on the monitor or screen or somewhere like a cubicle divider thing next to you. When a person is about to come up to talk to you, if there's a certain color post-it note that's on there, they know this person is in focus. I shouldn't disturb them. It acts as a visual break, as a do not disturb indicator in real life. And obviously in online formats, there are literal do not disturb features that are built into most software. So utilize these things and optimize your environment, and make a list of all the environmental optimizations that you will be making to make sure that you are not triggered into negative behaviors, that you are removing aspects that are going to distract you, you're planting things that will trigger good behaviors, and you're optimizing your environment to make bad behaviors more difficult to access and good behaviors easier to access. One great tip that I'll give you for blocking websites is installing an app blocker. But if that's not enough, what you can actually do is you can actually go into your router settings. It's usually you type in an IP address for the router. You can go into the router settings, log in as the admin, and turn on parental controls. Parental control features are available in most commercially available routers. And what that will do is it means that you can select which devices, when connected to that network, can access different things on the internet. And you can block certain words from appearing in the string. So even on something like YouTube, if you're searching for something, that appears in the string. So if you don't want to search for videos related to, I don't know, let's say you don't want to search for videos related to cats, then have the word cats in the search string and block it. So every time you search for the word cats, it's going to be blocked. You can set up different websites to be blocked depending on the actions that you are trying to prevent yourself from accessing. And then change the password to your router admin, make it really, really long and impossible to remember, write it down on a physical piece of paper, and give it to someone else like your parents. Now you can't even change the settings even if you wanted to. Another pro tip is that you can access certain websites like YouTube in incognito mode. If you're accessing a website in incognito mode, especially something like YouTube, the algorithm doesn't know what to optimally recommend you for you to be interested in watching it. So when you log on, you just see all these irrelevant like music videos and stuff that you don't care about. And so you're much less likely to get distracted from that homepage. An alternative is if you're looking for a video, search for the video in Google first, and use the videos feature to find the video that you're looking for and get linked directly to it. In some cases, when you search for it, Google will be able to show you that video in the search results directly, so you don't even have to go off into the website. So you're now not even getting distracted by the comments or the sidebar or anything like that. So here are a few tips that you can use to just help yourself get less distracted, as well as obviously the common ones, removing desktop icons, things like that. This section on anticipated barriers and what we can do to avoid them is, as you can see, a very lengthy session. It's a very involved process. Many of our students will spend hours really thinking through this to figure out exactly the initial scope of their limiting habits and what they can do, what type of scripted actions work. Often the mistakes that are made is that not enough limiting habits are identified, scripted actions require too much motivation, and environmental optimization is not done sufficiently. These are the most common three things. If you avoid these common mistakes, your chances of success at achieving your goal are going to go through the roof. So obviously, if a goal is challenging, like I said, it's going to have barriers. But if those barriers are not in place, if you're able to overcome those barriers with pre-programmed responses in advance, your path forward is going to be much more predictable and much smoother. For me, now having used this type of approach for years, I wouldn't imagine ever for any goal I take, even moderately serious, where I feel like I'm not willing to risk the consequence of failure, I would never even imagine going about creating a plan or setting goals that don't think about these limiting habits. Maybe because I've already tried doing it the old way and have encountered so many attempts of disappointment and failure. But if you haven't encountered that amount of failure and disappointment yet, you don't always have to learn through the experience. Sometimes you can just take someone's word for it and put in the steps yourself so that you don't make all of the same mistakes.